Alright guys, we are back and now we're going to talk a little bit about how to add some styling to this to the name that I have here in front of my hero. So and this could be anything. This could be web development. This could be, I don't know, something that you really want to, it's going to be the first thing that people see. So you kind of want to give, some good information here on this first thing. And what a lot of people do, what a lot of companies do, is that they use it as a slider, for example, and they have like the three main services they sell. Or if it's like an e-commerce store, they'll have like two or three products that they really want to push out and they want to sell. They want to put them up here. So it's a good place, to make a good sales pitch. The first sales pitch is like if you had 10 seconds to tell somebody something, this, what would you tell them, about your business or about yourself? So this is a website about yourself. So if you have 10 seconds to tell somebody something about yourself and they're not going to read the entire thing, what would you do? You tell it up here, right? So you tell them, welcome to my website, for example, or something like that. You say Luis Silva, web designer, web developer, something like that, something along those lines. So, but you want that to be in the middle here. So we're going to use the Flexbox for this. And what is the Flexbox? So there is a lot to talk about in the Flexbox that we're not going to cover here, but there is a lot of information out there that you can go over. So if you look in CSS tricks, snippets, CSS, a guide to Flexbox. So they have a complete guide to Flexbox here that I think is actually pretty cool, because the way that they explain it and with the graphics and everything, it's amazing how they actually cover so much in this. And they explain the main container, for the Flexbox, the display flex, and then once you have the display flex, you can set up how you want your items in the direction that you want them to be displayed. So like this is display row, or display row reverse, display column, and display column reverse. It also shows the flex wrap if you want items to stay within the window object, and then just kind of wrap when they run out of space, wrap down to the next line, which is a really good thing to do. And so on and so forth. Where how to place them at the beginning, in the center, in between, around, the same amount of space around each of them, or evenly across the screen. So there's a lot of stuff here that is for you to learn, and this is a great way to do it. And another way that you can utilize the Flexbox within Material UI is by using the properties that they already have given to you. So they have the grid, and if you're going to to do this, then you're gonna have to make use of the grid component, meaning you have to import the grid component in there, just like this, and then you have to have a grid container, and then inside the grid container you're gonna have grid items. The spacing attribute or property is the one that's going to define how much you want it to be, how much you want these items to be spaced from each other. And this grid right here, this item means that this is a child of this parent, and this is the size that is going to be at that screen size. So that means in the extra small screens, it's going to take the entire 12 span of the screen. This one is going to be full width at mobiles, but in tablets it's going to take half the screen only. And then this guy is going to take only a third or a quarter, actually. So it's divided by 12 divided by 3, that's a quarter. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them will fit there, therefore a quarter. And that's basically how it is. And there's more of them. There's a SM, and then you can actually, here, if you want it to be, for example, this one. If you want this one to be a 12 and take the whole full span of the window, in smartphones and in tablets to take half the window, but then you want it to, in laptops, to take a quarter, then you can come over here and put medium equals parenthesis 3, not parenthesis, curly brackets 3. And then for a large which it could include large monitors or even TV signs and TVs and things like that. Then you can also have the TV, the TV, the LG, and then give it that size. And I believe there should be sizes in the API that would tell you. There we go. So if you go to the API, the Grid API, and you look through here, you should be able to see all of the different property values that you can add and all the different properties. So if you use the align content on the grid container, it will tell you you will be able to align content and space between and things like that. So there's a lot to read as well here. Here's large. You can give, just like we said, XS, the extra small to 12. Right here, we set the extra small to 12. And the previous video that I showed, and not in the previous video, in the previous screen that I was just showing you, same thing. You can do that to all the way to large, and yeah, to large, and then all the way from 1 to 12, depending on the size. So you got to mess around with all this stuff in order to actually learn. There is a playground that you can use. Oops, I think I went too far in my. Yeah, one more, and maybe one more. Here. Alright, so there is a playground here for the spacing. So if you want to know how much spacing you should have on your grid container, this right here kind of gives you an idea of what number to use for spacing your items. Okay, so typically 2 and 3 is pretty common. Then there is this other playground here that you can use to know which classes to use, in your grid container. So like right here, if you want your items to look like this, exactly like this, you're gonna use direction row, justify center, and alignment center, align items center, and it's going to do exactly what you see here. If you do the reverse, then this is how you want your code to be in the grid container, and then it's going to reverse the items. But I want it to be here, right? And then I want it to be maybe at the beginning, or I want it to be at the end, or I want it to be spaced in between, or spaced around, or spaced evenly. All of that's going to be the justifying line right here. And then the align items, which is going to align it to the top, or align it to the bottom of it, or stretch it, baseline, or center it. And that's how you basically set up this stuff. So there are ways that you can do that with a grid container to help you out if you want to go this route. And it will be already, it would automatically be responsive. So it will work for you responsively as well, depending on the size that it was given. What is it? I lost it. Come on, give it to me. Okay, so this one is not showing the responsiveness of it, but this one is. This one right here, you can see the responsiveness. I went to, this one was X12, and well, these are already X cut out for that size. Maybe this is not the right screen to show that. For the responsiveness, you gotta go to an actual different screen for it. But we're not gonna go over that. So if you want to use the grid, you can use the grid if you want. Just make sure that you import it. For this case, we're not going to use the grid. I think there's a much easier way to do this, since we're only going to be wrapping this and that's it in the center. It's overkill to have to go for the grid and things like that. So we're going to do this now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come here, okay, and we're going to set a class, or actually there's already a class media. There's a class media for it right here that is already taking the height. Alright, so if we look at that and we right click on this and we inspect it and we go to the media class, which is this guy right here. Yep, make styles media. So there is a class already for it, and it's already given this height of 500 pixels. We're gonna add more stuff to this class in order to make this container a Flexbox container. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna give it a display flex. The next thing we're gonna do is give it a flex direction on how we want to direct the items inside. Right now we have two. We're gonna have two actually. you know what, let me stop that for a second, and then we're gonna put one here, and with this one it's going to be an H5 web designer and developer. There we go, web designer and developer. Cool. All right, so we're gonna have two items in there. So now I want these two items to be not in against each other, but stacked on top of each other. So the flex direction on here is actually going to be column, because you want a column, you want them to stack on a column, not be against each other, like next to each other as a row. What do you want these items to be? So you want these items to be in the center here, right? So we're going to align items to the center, and then that gives the vertical alignment, and then we're gonna do the horizontal alignment to which is justify also to the center. So as soon as I save that and I come here, guess what? There we are, right smack dab in the center, and so is the web designer and development and all that good stuff. So excuse me. So if you can see now, another thing that we didn't do is, because I haven't refreshed the screen, is I still have that margin 0 here. So if I take that margin 0, you notice how now the margin 0 that originally I had taken it out, right, in order to get rid of the gap that I had up here. Now I can actually get rid of this margin 0 and not even include it in my code. Okay, I don't have to actually include it in my coding here anymore, because my Flexbox is acting as a full container now. So the margin here is completely irrelevant and to the box itself, to the parent itself. It's not going to affect it. So now I can actually use this margin here if I wanted to move it up and down instead. So I can do something like that to create more margin around myself, things like that. So I can just leave it the way it is and not even worry about it. So I can refresh the screen to make sure that I even lose. There you go, and everything works the way it is. Now obviously that's kind of tiny and small. I don't like it either. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make this a little bigger. So we're gonna just add some regular CSS stuff, and this is nothing out of the ordinary. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it a font size. Let's see, maybe 50 pixels. Maybe more. Yep, 77 pixels, and there you go. And then we're gonna give it a margin bottom, a margin 0. I still want to put a margin 0 because I don't want this in the bottom here to just kind of be so far out. So I'm gonna give it just like that, and then I'm gonna give it a font. I want to give it a text shadow, so I can have some depth on those letters. So for the text shadow, I'm gonna have 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 0 pixels, and then black. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. Now I can click back in and start modifying that a little bit. Maybe 2 pixels here, and then some depth in here, some blurring. Maybe bring it back down to, there you go. All right, cool. So maybe that's too much, a little bit like this, and then I just click up on the arrow so I make sure that I get the RGB instead. There we go. So now that I have this, I can copy all of this stuff here, and that's going to be in my H1. So best way that I can do this is by creating a class name. So class name, and I'm going to put this, and I'm going to call these classes heading. I'm going to call it heading. Then I'm going to come over here and create my heading. Now I can paste this in here, but then I have to make sure that I use the proper syntax. So I'm going to use font size and camel case. I can get rid of that and make that a comma. This can stay that way. Make sure there's a comma. This has to be camel cased. And then this, I can just basically wrap an entire thing in quotation marks and make that a comma or not. Leave it alone. Gonna save this, and my class heading should take effect in a minute. If not, then I can just refresh. I can just refresh and it won't work. Alright, let's see what happens here. Okay, so this is what happened. I added it as a regular classes from my styles, from my style sheet here, from this style sheet, and that's not the way it goes. It's supposed to be in squarely brackets because it's an object, not a string. There we go. And now it works. Cool. So now I gotta do something about this H5 here. So instead of going crazy and let's see first if a bigger maybe H3 will kind of help me out better. So H3 is a little better. Let me see, H2. H2 is even better. So let's just bring this up to H2 instead of redesigning the H5. So H2 is breaking. What's going on? Okay, some compiling issues. So H2 is better. I still don't really, I can't really read it very well. So I'm gonna do something a little different. So and I'm going to go to my site here to remember exactly how it's done, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But if I inspect here, okay, this is what I wanted to know. All right, so okay, so this is what I can do. I don't know if this is going to take it, but I'm going to try. So if I come to my, okay, the reason why I don't know if this is going to take it is because the style, the background image is already being injected by my card. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I'm going to try. So I'm going to do this and then get rid of, let me open this, get rid of the URL and the fix and all that stuff. Yeah, I didn't think it would. Oh, because, okay, I see. Never mind. So I have to use background. So background and then that. And then now I can get rid of this. Okay, so maybe background color, and then get rid of all this. It may work. Let's see what's going on here. Invalid property. All right, let's figure this out here. Background. Blend mode. Let me see if it's alright. So if I use background color, and I make it a regular, okay, so if I make it a regular color, alright, I'm going to look into this a little further without having to waste any of your time here, but I'm gonna look into this a little further, and if I find a way that I can make that gradient happen in this image that is being injected here, then I'll let you guys know. But if not, then there are ways that we can inject that media, that image right in here, and it will still create the exact same thing. Actually, you know what, let's just do that. So if let me go grab the same one that I did on mine first. So I'm gonna grab this background here, the entire thing, and even the cover. Yep, I'm gonna grab all that, and I'm gonna add it to the media here. But I'm actually going to change this for this and put it in between. What did I do? Come on, Lewis. Copy. Paste it. Alright. Make sure that I wrap that in quotation marks. Or single quotation marks. What's going on here? Uninspected identifier. So, okay, that's why that whole thing has to be using the right syntax. And then for my background side, it has to be camel case. This has to be all in the right syntax. Alright, so if I do it this way and I have it going to the image banner, and then here I delete this, let's see what happens. It worked. So that's how it's done. Alright, so it works all the same. It's fine. So you can do it this way, and then that way you'll get a little bit of a darkness into the bottom of it, and then you can just adjust it a little bit if it's too much. So you can make it maybe a little lighter on the top and a little lighter on the bottom as well. Maybe about 63, maybe 52, maybe even less. So about that much. So fit about 35 and 20% on the top. So that's about right. So 20 and 35, and then you just change it here in your here. So you're gonna have a 20% there and a 35% on this one. All right, cool. And now you have it a little better, a little better design on this. And now we can move on into the bottom of, what goes on the bottom of this. And that's probably going to be part of the WordPress connection to the source to get the data from WordPress. All right, sorry for taking so long on this part, but at least it's a good thing that you got to see, some of this development, and as you can see, the responsiveness works, everything works fine. So you got to see how it can be done in different ways, and whenever you're developing, you'll get to issues, and you'll get to bugs, and you get to parts where you're gonna get stuck with something, and then you're gonna spend some time debugging things. Nothing is ever sunshine and rainbows. So at least you got to see me get into a roadblock and digging myself out of it, and that's something that you're just gonna have to get accustomed to, because it's gonna happen. So we're gonna stop here, and we'll see you in the next one.